This is Jose from MyAudioMarketplace.com, and I'm going to be going over how to mix your drums. Alright, so let's get started. As you can see, I pretty much muted all the sounds except the drums. I'm going to just hit play and just see how my levels look and how my drums sound. Okay, the only sound that needs adjustment is the closed hat. So what I'm going to do is actually put a gain on that. What the gain's going to do is we're just going to actually raise the level without moving the fader. Okay, I just raised the level of the gain for the closed hi-hat, and the reason for that is when you start mixing your drums and you start adjusting your faders and you start lowering your faders, that sound is going to be harder to hear. Alright, so now I'm going to actually start mixing the drums. I'm going to listen to my kick first. This one has a knock, like a low end knock, I should say. This has more of a punch to it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is lower all the sounds together. And hit play. I'm going to mute all the sounds and just unmute this kick. I'm going to start raising the level. Now it all depends on what you want to do. Which meaning, do you want the punchiness coming through first, or do you want to kind of sit back? I'm going to have it sit back a little bit, so that way they blend together and they play together nicely. So now I'm going to move on to the hi-hat. Now to speed this up, I'm going to start working my way down. And the reason why we do this is we want to keep your master fader at a lower level, because that way when you want to give enough headroom for the mastering aspect of this. So for right now, we're just going to go over drums. So now that I actually have my drums mixed, you want to have your kick and your snare as close as possible. And what I mean by that is I'm speaking about volume. And once you got that, then you bring in your hi-hat, and those should be like right underneath that. They should sit right underneath the kick and the snare. Now I'm going to lower the levels and bring them down again because we're getting pretty loud. Now you see all this headroom I have here. I can actually add a lot more like effects. Like when you start adding EQ, compression, and sound effects and stuff like that, you start raising your headroom. So your headroom is like a little bit, it's basically the space before you start clipping. Alright, now that I have the levels that I like, I'm going to start EQing the sounds. So I'm going to solo my kick, analyze it, Alright, now that I've mixed my drums, I'm going to start EQing. Now the reason for EQing is to cut out certain frequencies you don't need, and it will actually open up your mix. So what I'm going to do is use a low pass to cut out the higher frequencies that I don't need. I'm going to analyze the actual kick. Now it's a subtle noticeable difference. We're not going to use this frequency here. Now we're going to move on to the next sound. Now we're going to move on to the next sound. Now the reason why I did this right here is because we want this first kick to actually have the low end, and we want the second kick to have more of the punch. Now let's listen without the EQing. With the EQing. Alright, so now let's move on to the hi-hat. So this is a hi-hat, so we want to cut out the low frequencies. Alright, the cut shouldn't be very noticeable. You should kind of barely hear a change. So, but there is a change there because you're cutting out all the low frequencies that the hi-hats doesn't even need or use. So now we're going to go to the close hi-hat. Alright, now we're going to go to snare. Okay, I boosted up the low end here, so that way you get more of that crack sound. There we go. Now this is our drum track with some EQing. Now that we've finished mixing our drums, as you can see, I did some pan adjustments. That way it spreads out the hi-hats. We only cut out frequencies we didn't need or use, and we also have enough room in our master fader. The reason why we do that is we want to mix at a lower level. Use your speakers. If you're using speakers, you want to turn your speakers up So that way, if it's too low, you turn those up, and you're not turning up your overall beat or song louder. You want to keep that at a lower level, so that way you have more headroom, so that way you can add more, compression, EQ, or reverb. That starts adding more volume at the end. So when I start adding the rest of these sounds, this volume is going to go up. So the more sounds you have, the louder the volume gets. So you keep adding sounds, it's going to get louder. So we want to mix at a lower level, give ourselves enough headroom, so that way when we get to our mastering, or we hand it off to someone to master it, you have enough room to actually do something with it. All right, that's all. Thank you for joining me. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment in comments below and ask any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Have a great day.